Chapter 86 The Origin of Destruction. Caitou. After being powered up by the raging flame ring, Shenxi's thousand strike lance was dyed with a layer of red. A glint flashed through his eyes, and the thousand strike lance's third soul ring suddenly lit up. This thousand-year soul ring immediately caused the weapon to turn somewhat illusory. Not only that, but a flare of light appeared behind the thousand strike lance, causing it to become increasingly brighter. As a result, its glaring light suppressed even the reddish luster that came from Fei Yuan's raging flame ring. Clearly, Shenxi and Fei Yuan hadn't just worked together for a day or two. Just as the former released his third soul skill, the latter simultaneously activated her second and third soul skills. However, her second soul skill was used on the blaze tiger, blazing wings. A 4-meter-wide pair of flaming wings appeared on the back of the blazed tiger, just like the phrase giving a set of wings to a tiger. With the strength increase given by the blazing wings, the aura of fire coming from the blazed tiger spiked, and the originally scarlet red flames on its body started to turn a bluish-white. After that came Fei Yuan's third skill, which caused a layer of bluish-white flames to emerge from the body of the blazed tiger. The blazed tiger itself was an image of light, and it had released something similar to it, yet even more illusory. This caused its main body to thin somewhat. The bluish-white blazed tiger didn't pause whatsoever. Flapping its wings, it leapt straight into the increasingly bright thousand strike lance. Immediately, an intense, bluish-white flame appeared on the body of the thousand strike lance. Mixed within it was the low cry of a tiger, causing the members of the audience below to involuntarily hold their breath. This was practically an unrivaled use of strengthening soul skills. By relying on 4 defense-type soul masters to act as a defensive wall, and the use of Enlenia's control device to strengthen their defensive capabilities while reducing their opponent's speed, they were able to give Shenxi and Fei Yuan the chance to join hands and release a deadly attack. This was the strategy that the current Thousand Spirits Academy was using. Moreover, this fighting style had never appeared in any of Shrek's previous matches before. Their opponents during the elimination round simply weren't strong enough. Moreover, their first fight during the round-robin round had been a 1v1 duel. Up till now, an original yet extremely powerful strategy like this had never appeared on the battlefield. This was something that even Wang Yan had been unable to predict beforehand. Would Shrek's 7 monsters be able to endure a crushing blow like this? The Thousand Spirits Academy had a very simple goal: rely on a special strategy like this to combine their strongest abilities, then eliminate a few of their opponents. After that, they could take advantage of a few mistakes their opponents made to achieve victory. This was also the strategy they had devised to use against strong teams they were fighting against. Originally, the Thousand Spirits Academy hadn't planned to fight against Shrek Academy. After all, the latter was a champion throughout the entirety of history. The Thousand Spirits Academy didn't have the foundation to challenge Shrek Academy. However, they had lost their previous 1v1 match, pushing them to the edge of disqualification. If they weren't able to beat Shrek Academy, they would be eliminated from the Continental Advanced Academy Soul Dueling Tournament. Hence, the Thousand Spirits Academy had a very simple strategy. They spared nothing in their fight. Even if they lost, they had to lose brilliantly so that everyone could see the true might of the Thousand Spirits Academy. They wouldn't be losing face either if they lost to Shrek Academy. Just as Wang Yan and the Shrek 7 monsters were hoping for a team fight, the Thousand Spirits Academy was also hoping for the same outcome. This was because they believed that they would be able to release all of their strength in a team fight. In the end, both parties were satisfied. However, would the current Shrek 7 monsters withstand the might of the Thousand Spirits Academy? Go! Shenxi let out a low roar, then stretched out both hands. He was about to fling his thousand strike lance that flickered with a bluish-white flame outwards. At the same time, the four wielders of the Spirit Rhinoceros shield suddenly moved. The very center of the shield wall shifted to the side, revealing a hole. Under the effects of Enlenia's frost seal, Bei, Caitou, Shusanqi, and Jiang Nanan were 10 meters away from the shield wall. Describing all of this took a lot of time, but in reality, everything occurred within a few seconds. Shenxi wasn't the only powerful person within the Thousand Spirits Academy. The cooperation and speed involved in the soul skills used by the twin mistresses of fire and ice had reached an extreme level of skill. The 4 people from Shrek Academy who were currently leading the charge had blank looks on their faces. At this exact moment, a white mark appeared on Bei's body. This mark was in the shape of a cross, and it appeared right on his chest. However, an indifferent smile floated by the corner of Bei's mouth at this exact moment. This was a smile of self-confidence. The members of the audience who could clearly see what was going on, including the Emperor himself, held their breaths at this moment. Would Shrek Academy suffer a heavy blow at the very beginning of the match? At this exact moment, they witnessed another bizarre scene. To put it more accurately, it was an astonishing scene. Nobody would have thought that the first of the Shrek's 7 monsters to release a soul skill would be Huo Yuao. Moreover, he hadn't even released his soul rings. Without any prior warning at all, Huo Yuao's eyes shot out 2 purplish golden rays of light, each more than a foot long. This was precisely when Shenxi was about to make a move. Shenxi let out a muffled groan, and the cross-shaped mark that was on Bei's body instantly vanished. However, the thousand strike lance had already been released. Only, it had now diverged from its original trajectory. Opportunities were things that were given equally to both parties. The powerful effect of the perfect combination of Huo Yuao's spiritual detection and spiritual shock was once again unveiled in a team fight. If it was the first time a person encountered this combination of spiritual soul skills, they would undoubtedly suffer a loss. Even as his cultivation continuously increased, Huo Yuao's greatest improvement was in his spiritual power. His spiritual power had been continuously strengthened at a terrifying rate with the help of the Side-Dream Ice Worm, and his first soul ring had reached the level of a 1,000-year soul ring. Even if his overall cultivation hadn't reached the level of a 3-ring soul elder, he had 2,000-year soul rings by his side in reality. Moreover, these weren't just ordinary 1,000-year soul rings. He had been able to instantly send Ma Xiaodao into a daze using his spiritual shock when his cultivation was far weaker. Now, his cultivation had increased dramatically, and his opponent wasn't even as strong as Ma Xiaodao. Why was Bei laughing? The Thousand Spirits Academy was under the impression that their shield wall had concealed their movements, but with Huo Yuao's spiritual detection, they couldn't hide anything from Shrek's 7 monsters. They were even able to clearly see the circulation of Shenxi's soul power when he made his move. Huo Yuao made his move the instant Shenxi had no choice but to release his drawn bowstring. As the main control-type soul master of his team, his entire team jumped into action in accordance with his timing. A sudden change occurred to the seemingly relaxed Shrek 7 monsters. Wang Dong and Xia Xiao stayed by Huo Yuao's side, unmoving, but the 4 people in front of them rushed forward like fierce beasts. Furthermore, this was combined with the explosion caused by Shenxi's thousand strike lance. Shenxi had been fully concentrated on his control over the thousand strike lance, but he had been struck by Huo Yuao's spiritual shock. Thus, not only was the angle of his throw skewed, but he also suffered heavy injuries to his mind. He started to bleed from his mouth and nose. Furthermore, the new target of his lightning-fast thousand strike lance was now his team's shield wall. As the saying went, a fortress was most easily destroyed from within. This was something that made a lot of sense. When the 4 of them had formed the shield wall, nobody could see any holes or weak spots from the outside. Yang Ming, Songhu, Bai Chen, and Yimao were constantly shifting their positions to maintain the overall balance of the shield wall's defense. However, they were trying to defend against external attacks, not internal ones. Strengthened by Fei Yuan's soul skills, Shenxi's full power lance fully struck their shield wall from within. With a violent boom, the countless shield images were blasted apart from within. The bluish-white flames instantly melted the frost shield, and even burnt Yang Ming, who was closest to the wall. The terrifying impact caused by the thousand strike lance blew the left side of the shield wall apart. Yang Ming and Song who were sent flying, and they let out a wretched cries due to the flames burning them. Traces of blood could now be seen on their right arms that had transformed into shields. Shenxi's all-out attack against Bei had struck his own side. Fortunately, the thousand strike lance hadn't flown straight towards his own teammates. Otherwise, their injuries would have been even more severe. As these violent booms continued to ring out, Bei and Shusanqi simultaneously let out a roar. Although they had been previously slowed down by the frost steel, they suddenly sped up. With a flash, Shusanqi made his way through the broken shield wall. On the other hand, Bei slammed tyrannically into the remaining half of the shield wall. Caitou suddenly stopped moving, as if he were a sitting tiger. After smoking one of his soul power amplifying thin cigars, the rumbling sounds of metal rang out from his body. A few days ago, Shusanqi Shanxi had encountered a stationary soul cannon while fighting against the students from the Douluo Advanced Soul Engineering Academy. However, the person who was using it today was Caitou. Huo Yuao had studied the art of soul tools under Fan Wu for a very short period of time. Fan Wu had established a good foundation for him, while imparting a foundational knowledge of most soul engineers as well. On the other hand, when Huo Yuao was learning how to create soul tools, Fan Wu had prioritized his foundation over everything else. However, Caitou had already studied under Fan Wu for over 5 years. He wasn't as slow as he seemed on the surface. How could his 5 years of hard work be compared to the leader of the Douluo Advanced Soul Engineering Academy that Shanxi had previously fought against? His unleashing of a stationary soul tool was practically a transformation to his body. There was a qualitative difference between the soul tool forts that Caitou and Situ set up. The pedestal of Situ's fort had only extended towards his legs, but Caitou's one could truly be called a fort. Amidst the concentrated sounds of metal, a circular pedestal appeared below Caitou's feet, fully covering his feet. This was a genuine fort. It was impossible to leave the original location once it was set up. The place that Caitou had chosen was also rather peculiar. He had chosen a place in the middle of the arena, slightly towards the Thousand Spirit Academy side. Once the pedestal was finished, several metal pipes, both thick and thin, emerged from his body. When Situ, the captain of the Douluo Academy, had released more than 30 metal pipes to form his soul tool fortress, he had already exceeded the average number of pipes for a soul tool fortress. Generally speaking, as long as one had 24 attack type soul tools along with a stable pedestal and an enormous core formation that could conserve soul power, they'd have successfully formed a soul tool fortress. However, if one were to examine Caitou's body closely, they would see that there weren't 24 soul tools, but rather too many to count. The number of pipes had probably surpassed 50. Huo Yuao broke into a cold sweat when he saw his valiant senior brother. At the same time, he thought to himself, is this the reason that all soul engineers have such strong bodies? So that they can control a larger number of soul tools? It seems that he'd have to grow stronger too. If he didn't, he definitely wouldn't be able to bear the burden of all those metal weapons. Caitou had a total of 64 weapons on his body. Among them, the strongest was the gun barrel on his right shoulder. This dark-colored gun barrel was 2 meters long and as thick as an average person's thigh. Currently, it was emanating a metallic light and giving off a terrifying aura. However, this gun barrel was banned from the tournament, as it was a strengthening type stationary soul tool. Once his fortress had been finished, the muscles on Caitou's face twitched slightly. It was difficult to describe how he was feeling right now. He smiled towards the enemy team while holding the cigar in his mouth, but his smile was full of killing intent. Afterwards, instantly turned into a ball of blazing light that was nearly as bright as the sun. Currently, Bei was fiercely attacking the remnants of the shield wall in an attempt to destroy them, but at that moment, he felt a wave of heat coming from behind him, followed by a thunderous explosion that landed not too far away from his head. This explosion was really quite scary. The powerful shockwaves caused him to squat down, and he had to use all the soul power in his body to protect himself. He even had to use the defensive soul tool that he'd obtained yesterday. Afterwards, he saw various fragments falling from the sky. He then realized that the shields that had been blocking his way were now gone. Holy shit. The always elegant Bei, at least, that's how he looked from the outside, unconsciously cursed as he stood back up. All of the fragments that were falling from the sky belonged to the spirit rhinoceros shield. He saw that the protective barrier outside of the arena was full of ripples, and that a large number of halos were rapidly fluctuating. He then noticed that there was a person amidst those halos, and that this person was the captain of the Thousand Spirit Advanced Soul Academy, Shenxi. At this moment, his body was glittering with many colors, and his 5 soul rings lit up one after another. However, no matter what he did, he was still being suppressed by a terrifying power, and was unable to move a single finger. Bei wasn't the only one who was surprised. The other members of the Thousand Spirits Advanced Soul Academy were also surprised by this, as all 4 of their defense-type soul masters had been injured from that explosion. When the Thousand Strike Spear had injured them, Yang Ming and Song, who had thought that they'd been unlucky, but when they saw Bai Chen and Yu Mao's current condition, they were a little happy that their shield wall had already been destroyed. Of the 64 attack-type soul tools installed on Caitou's body, 63 had simultaneously begun to glitter, which had been why his body had seemingly changed into a blazing sun. All of them had then simultaneously released their strength in the same direction. Not only had they immediately destroyed the shield wall, but they had also fiercely bombarded Shenxi, who had yet to recover from Huo Yuao's spiritual shock. Even though Shenxi's skill were meant for defense, when faced with that terrifying power, he'd been directly pressed against the barrier outside the ring. Just what kind of power was that? Even if the shield wall had been previously damaged by an internal strike from the Thousand Strike Spear, it was still a defense that had been erected by 2 defense-type soul ancestors with all their might. Yet, in front of Caitou's soul tool fortress, it had collapsed instantly. Bei and Shanxi, who went too far away from each other, both looked at each other and saw sort of shock in each other's eyes. The 2 of them weren't the only ones hiding their strength. Caitou had been as well. Furthermore, the strength that Caitou had been hiding was extremely large. Even Shanxi wasn't entirely sure if he could block that full power attack from before. Beneath the soul sage rank, a soul engineer held a definite advantage over a soul master of equal rank. Moreover, how could Caitou be compared to a normal class 4 soul engineer? If it wasn't for Huo Yuao, he would be the number 1 student of Shrek Academy's soul tool department, and also the only candidate for the ultimate soldier plan. However, the current Huo Yuao couldn't hope to match his attainments in regards to soul tools. Furthermore, Caitou had used the soul tool fortress, the strongest formation at the disposal of a soul engineer. Therefore, his full power attack had immediately shown its terrifying effects. The tactic used by the Thousand Spirits Advanced Soul Academy wasn't bad, but it had a fatal flaw. It was too passive. It wasn't able to pressure on their opponents. Caitou had already begun preparing the moment he'd stepped forward. In that brief period of time, he'd completed the setup of his soul tool fortress with using his muscles. Only 3 seconds had passed between when he began performing his fortress and when he launched his attack. This speed shocked the members of the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy so much that all of them stood up. Even among them, none of them could erect a soul tool fortress in such a short period of time, let alone such a complicated and powerful class 4 soul tool fortress. By relying on his great number of soul tools, Caitou was able to release the strength of a class 5 soul tool fortress while using a class 4 one. However, he hadn't used this formidable strength of his when he compared notes with his fellow students. Bei and Shanxi, who were thinking of going all out, regained their senses after a short moment of surprise and realized that the blinding light from Caitou's soul tools were also fading. When the light faded, Shenxi used the protective barrier behind him as a support to jump towards the ring with great difficulty. The sturdy clothes he'd been wearing had already been turned into rags and had revealed a layer of armor beneath them. Clang, the armor broke, and the instant it fell on the ground, Shenxi's body looked thin and eager. He immediately opened his mouth to gasp for breath, and used his Thousand Strike Spear to support himself. Caitou spat out what remained of his thin cigar and curled his lips. Not bad. You had a class 5 defense type soul tool. No wonder you managed to block my attack. You're the first soul king that was able to take the full brunt of my soul tool fortress head on without going down. Come, bring it on. Afterwards, his round pedestal rotated. His 64 attack type soul tools also moved rhythmically. This fortress of his could unexpectedly rotate 360 degrees. Furthermore, he only needed to make some small adjustments to his aim in order to target Fei Yuan, who was still standing on the platform. Or rather, to be more precise, he was aiming at the Blaze Tiger martial soul she'd released. Brothers, what are you waiting for? Caitou shouted. When everyone thought that he would need a little bit of rest after that all-out attack from before, the gun barrels began to light up again. Fei Yuan immediately became scared and directly jumped onto her Blaze Tiger in order to run away. She definitely didn't have a class 5 defense type soul tool to protect herself. Keep your cool. He can't possibly use that sort of powerful attack 2 times in a row. At that moment, Shenxi showed his worth as a team captain. Not only was his cultivation high, both his knowledge and battle experience were also quite good. What he said was correct. In the end, Caitou was only a soul ancestor. Even if he was stronger and could actually kill a soul king with an all-out attack, there was no way that he'd be able to release such an attack twice in a row. But it was only natural for human beings to feel fear. Even with Shenxi's timely reminder, the deterrent brought about by those gun barrels on Caitou's body was just too strong. The Thousand Spirits Advanced Soul Academy's team members had already been thrown into confusion. At that moment, a tall and slender figure quietly arrived behind Yang Ming. Yang Ming suddenly felt his body sink, as though its weight had increased by several times. As soon as he tried to move, his body suddenly froze. Afterwards, he felt a burst of power transmitted into him from his back. 2 slender hands then seized his throat, and a hard object pressed against his back. In the next instant, everyone saw Yang Ming's body suddenly fly towards the outside of the ring. Jiang Nanan had made her move, and utilized her second skill, gravity control, alongside her first skill, waist bow. Even if he'd been in his normal state, it wasn't certain if Yang Ming would be able to dodge this attack, let alone now that he was injured. I'm coming. A tender voice echoed. A person suddenly stepped forwards from the team members of the Thousand Spirit Academy that were currently in disarray. Earlier, she had also been shocked, but considering her capacity as the vice captain of their team, she needed to show her strength now. This person was Unrivaled, the owner of the Frost Bear. The Frost Bear immediately took large strides forward under her orders, then made a grabbing motion towards the air and caught Yang Ming, who'd been about to fall off the stage from Jiang Nanan's attack. However, that wasn't all. Unline's fourth soul ring then lit up, and the Frost Bear howled angrily. A burst of cold air spread through the surrounding area, and Unline's long blue hair immediately turned white. Even her two eyes turned an icy white color, and began to emit a chilly aura. The cold wind in the air then morphed into a tornado that swept through the arena. After holding Bei, Shu Sanqi and Jiang Nanan in place, it swept towards Caitou's position. Assault Fort's offensive advantages were blatantly obvious as shown by Caitou's ability to launch omnidirectional attacks. However, in exchange for such firepower, it was nigh impossible for him to move, and so he was simply unable to dodge Unline's attack. Unline's attack was a surprise attack that was launched with perfect timing. Although Huo Yuao's spiritual detection covered the entire arena, that didn't mean it was omniscient. There were still a few instances, such as this one, that could exceed his senses. She has a soul bone, Huo Yuao used his spiritual detection sharing to transmit his thoughts to his teammates' spiritual seas. There was no doubt about it. This was the strength of Unline's released soul bone, strength that allowed her fourth soul skill, Frost Tornado, to surpass the level of a soul ancestor. Only then was she able to stop the members of Shrek from advancing. Otherwise, if Shu Sanqi and Bei charged over, and Caitou was allowed to recover and start attacking again, the match would have been settled. The might of Unline's amplified attack had already reached the level of a soul king. Bei furrowed his brows greatly, then placed his hands in front of his body and quickly moved horizontally. He released a dense cloud of lightning to protect his own body, but he was still forced backwards by Unline's powerful attack. However, his footwork placed him right in front of Caitou. Since his opponents were able to spot the problems of a soul tool fort, why wouldn't he be able to, as the leader of Shrek's 7 monsters? Right after that, however, Bei suddenly felt the pressure on him lighten. Layers of barriers had appeared behind him, black barriers that rippled like water. Shu Sanqi turned back and smiled naughtily at him. His second soul ring was flickering, and he didn't seem to exert any force at all as he took on the strengthened Frost Tornado. This was Shu Sanqi's second soul skill, Mysterious Underworld Shield. On the surface, it was a soul skill similar to the Shield Wall. However, the defensive power of Shu Sanqi's Mysterious Underworld Shield was far superior compared to Shield Wall. This was especially true for the ice type skill he was currently defending against. A portion of the attacking ice melted upon contact with Shu Sanqi's ward barrier, depleting most of the attack before it could strike Bei. One could tell from the smile that Shu Sanqi gave Bei that this attack wasn't pressuring him. Although the strength of the Frost Tornado had been boosted to the level of a soul king, she faced the same problem as Caitou. In the end, Unline's was still a soul ancestor and could not properly control the skill. Furthermore, her attack was one that targeted a large area. Its destructive power was far from the Thousand Strike Lance, which focused all its power on a single target. However, Unline's actions had given the Thousand Spirits Academy enough time. The 4 possessors of the Spirit Rhinoceros Shield quickly regrouped. Although they were all injured, with Bai Chen and Yu Mao's shields having been blown apart and their right arms bleeding, they were still defense-type soul masters. As a result, they could still defend themselves and weren't fully drained of their fighting strength. When Unline's launched her all-out attack, they had regrouped and quickly stood in front of her. Shenxi was also able to recover to some extent thanks to the time Unline's bought them. While the red-faced Fei Yuan quickly got back to her position by riding the Blaze Tiger, she had originally competed against Unline's for the position of vice captain, but now, she finally understood that the gap between them was simply too vast. Shenxi shouted out, "Let me do this." At this moment, not only was he filled with the intent to fight at this moment, but he also felt grief and indignation. From his point of view, the match was going to be decided without his opponent's 3 strongest members having made a single move. As the saying went, an army burning with righteous indignation was bound to win. At this moment, he was prepared to put everything at stake for this fight. A cold glint flickered through his eyes as the Thousand Strike Lance's 5th soul ring lit up. He let out a shout as he flung his weapon out. This time, he had fully concentrated his spiritual power to defend against Huo Yuao's spiritual shock. By now, Fei Yuan finally understood the role she needed to play in this fight, and her strength-amplifying soul skill appeared once again. Additionally, she rode the Blaze Tiger to stand in front of Shenxi and protect him from potential sneak attacks. Shenxi's target wasn't anyone else but the person who disrupted his attacking strategy. The same person who caused the trajectory of the Thousand Strike Lance to swerve towards his own teammates, Huo Yuao. Despite knowing he had no hope of victory, he still attacked to see how strong his extremely mysterious and extremely powerful enemy was. The Frost Tornado blocked not only Bei's assault but also Huo Yuao's spiritual detection. As a result, the Blaze Tiger boosted Thousand Strike Lance's incandescent blow only appeared in Huo Yuao's spiritual detection the moment it left the Frost Tornado. Not good. Bei cried out involuntarily. How was Huo Yuao some kind of mysterious expert? His real strength was only that of a 2-ring ranked 27 Soul Grandmaster. There would only one outcome if he would have faced the Soul King ranked Shenxi's Thousand Strike Lance that had been additionally boosted by a fire attribute control type Soul Master, Death. Bei's expression changed, along with those of Caitou, Jiang Nanan, Wang Dong, and Xia Xiao. Wang Dong moved horizontally, wanting to stand in front of Huo Yuao. However, he was stopped by the latter's left hand. In order to hold on to Wang Dong, Huo Yuao didn't hesitate to use the enormous strength of the Ice Empress pincer. The looks on 5 people's faces changed while the other 2 of them had ordinary expressions on their faces. These 2 people were Huo Yuao and Shu Sanqi. A black light flashed and Huo Yuao suddenly vanished, a tall figure taking his position. The figure raised a sturdy shield, and the image of an enormous black turtle appeared behind him. The light of his 4th soul ring vanished as it was replaced by the light of his 3rd soul ring. In an instant, the intense black light transformed into an ice-cold wave. The air started to twist violently, causing distortions to surround the black wave. The already enormous shield of the Swanwu turtle suddenly doubled in size as a triangular point appeared underneath it. The instant the Thousand Strike Lance arrived, it stabbed fiercely into the ground. This shield was directly affixed to Shu Sanqi's shoulder, and its surface was slanted. Boom. The violent booms forced Shu Sanqi and his shield of the Swanwu turtle back 7 or 8 meters before he was able to stop. And this was with the help of Xia Xiao's 3 live soul crush cauldron. In that instant, Wang Dong and Xia Xiao both felt a powerful, mountain-like feeling from their usually lecherous senior, who always clung to Jiang Nanan. In that instant, Shu Sanqi's eyes became filled with a grave and steady look, along with an unrivaled expression of haughtiness. When a defense-type soul master faced an assault-type soul master of the same rank, normally, neither would gain an advantage. At this moment, however, Shu Sanqi had overturned everyone's way of thinking. He was able to rely on his defensive capabilities to not only block the attack of a soul king who not only had one more soul ring than him but was also being boosted by another fire-type soul ancestor. His current defensive power could be considered to be at the very peak of the soul ancestor rank. The black light vanished, revealing Shu Sanqi's straight figure. The shield of the Swanwu turtle in his hands had already returned to its normal size. He used his hand to comb his hair for a bit before he said indifferently, "How relaxing." Wang Dong and Xia Xiao, who were originally filled with admiration, suddenly slipped and nearly fell to the ground. Why was Huo Yuao not worried at all? This was because Shu Sanqi had an ability that didn't seem to have any offensive or defensive capabilities, and yet was a defense-type soul skill that could transform into something magical. The mysterious underworld displacement. He was able to instantaneously swap places with Huo Yuao by relying on the mysterious underworld displacement, taking Huo Yuao's place to block Shenxi's all-out blow. However, Huo Yuao was switched to the location of the Frost Tornado that Shu Sanqi was originally in. The might of the Frost Tornado was already reaching its end. Hence, although it was still very powerful, it wasn't life-threatening to Huo Yuao. At the very least, it would be much better than being pierced by the Thousand Strike Lance. Furthermore, Bei was able to immediately rush over the instant Huo Yuao was displaced due to the latter's spiritual detection. He He pulled Hua Yu out behind him, using his back to withstand the last bits of the frost tornado's might. At this exact moment, Hua Yu's eyes lit up with an eye-piercing red glow as he raised his right hand and pointed a finger towards the sky. The 6 blood-colored soul rings once again descended upon the field. The terrifying aura of a 100,000-year soul beast caused even the protective barrier set up by the 108 soul masters to tremble violently. This desolate aura filled with a desolate might caused the air surrounding Hua Yu to seemingly solidify, and a light image flickered behind his back. Only Caitou and Jiangnanan, who were doing their best to hold on, were able to see that the light image was actually that of a scorpion. "Ice, I am your master." A low voice passed through a previously prepared sound, amplifying Soul Tool and resonated throughout the entire Douluo plaza. Every single spectator who was witnessing this astonishing scene suddenly felt as if their hearts were being crushed as they heard this voice. The audience then witnessed a scene that they would never be able to forget for the rest of their lives. The frost tornado that was originally wreaking havoc abruptly paused in midair. Following that, it instantly rose into the air and turned back towards the students of the Thousand Spirits Academy. Hua Yu didn't stop there either, and pointed a finger from his right hand towards the frost bear. The latter looked as if it had seen the most terrifying creature in the world, causing its body to shudder violently. Afterwards, it shattered with the pingent motes of light that filled the sky before dissipating, and Lenya let out a muffled groan and spat out a mouthful of fresh blood before collapsing. The last thing she saw before fainting was Hua Yu's emotionless and lifeless blood-colored eyes staring at her. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.